Taking the tube, riding the bus, walking, this is the routine of many women living in São Paulo, but it is also what makes them insecure. Street harassment is an everyday reality in the city. Leering, whistling, and catcalling are some of the obstacles women have to tackle when they are commuting. Researcher and specialist on public policies for women, Ana Carolina Nunes, believes such harassment is having a direct impact on the way women commute in the city.
Mas acho que impacta primeiramente a gente calcular, né? É uma variável a mais no nosso cálculo do trânsito pela
It
cidade.
has an impact. We create strategies. We make mental maps with places we feel more comfortable circulating in. It interferes with how much we like to the city, how much we like living in the city.
O quanto a gente gosta de estar na cidade, o quanto a gente gosta de viver naquele lugar.
Student Tamires Oliveira has been dealing with harassment since she was 13. Although she still jogs around her neighborhood, her usual routine changed after an attempted sexual assault.
Até que teve dia que eu estava voltando de volta para minha casa.
Until one day, I was running back home on an avenue. A man came up to me and said, "You're beautiful, you know," and tried to kiss me. I kept on running. I was so shocked I couldn't think straight.
Eu continuei correndo, assim, eu fiquei tão em choque que eu não consegui raciocinar.
After this incident, she stopped running to the park and started driving instead, but despite all of her efforts to avoid a repeat, she still has to deal with harassment.
Todo dia, sem exceção mesmo.
Every day with no exception. I get some sorts of harassment every day. It can be a look or a comment.
Ou seja, através de comentários.
But she is only one of the many women that face this problem. According to the project Chega de Fio Fio, women are mainly harassed on the streets and public places. However, the number of reports of sexual harassment in public transport increased from 2015 to 2016. On the metro, reports of harassment rose by 18%, and on buses, reported harassment grew by almost 300%. The company responsible for the public buses in São Paulo has measures to fight harassment. In a statement, the company claims to have preventive measures against any act of violence and discrimination. The posters containing those informations are displayed in buses, terminals, and published on their social media profile. The company Metrô de São Paulo, responsible for the tube, decided to tackle this issue in 2014. They started a campaign against harassment called You Are Not Alone. It encourages women to report sexual harassment.
Nós partimos de três diretrizes fundamentais.
We have 3 guidelines for the creation of the campaign. The first is welcoming the victim, always. Secondly is to hold the aggressor accountable for his act. The third guideline is the reporting, because only by reporting we have each other's back, and we can minimize this issue. That is a cultural matter.
A gente pode minimizar o problema, que é uma questão cultural.
Sexual harassment in the streets is also a concern for the government. The former mayor of São Paulo, Fernando Haddad, thinks this problem can be partly solved through better education.
Os nossos problemas são muito comportamentais.
Our problems are really behavioral. They are really cultural. You asked me about mobility, harassment. Several of our urban problems are in fact behavioral. They don't require investment. They require personal investment through education, culture and interaction.
No sentido da educação, da cultura, da interação.
He also believes that measures such as bus lanes and renewing street lamps are helping women feel safer in the city, but he criticizes the way the current government is delivering policy for women.
Hoje não há uma política
I believe that nowadays there are no policies for women in São Paulo or Brazil. There was a severe setback in this area. The Temer and Doria government are aligned, because effectively they don't have a vision for women.
Nesse sentido, o governo Dória estão alinhados, que efetivamente não há uma visão voltada para as mulheres.
But maybe women in politics could reverse the situation. Councillor Samia Bonfim is proud to call herself a feminist. She's fighting for public policies for women. One of her bills proposes to dedicate 20% of advertisements for campaigns against gender violence. She believes one of the main political issues with the current policy process for women is a lack of communication inside the government.
Se você for pensar no poder judiciário, poder legislativo, enfim, todos eles não estão. If you look at the judiciary branch, the legislative power, none of them are competent or prepared enough to have network policies that dialogue with all sectors of the public power. The ideal would have to be a dialogue between the executive, legislative, and judiciary power, in partnership with the media, the schools, with all the sectors, so we can try to culturally solve the problem of violence against women.
While the government is still figuring out how to deal with this problem, women are coming together to fight it themselves. If walking alone is scary, walking in a group is comforting. This is what the startup Três Marias brings to women. Thais Kogura and Thais Fontoura realized this while doing an assignment for university.
A gente conversou com cerca de 420 meninas.
We talked to 420 girls, and through this research we got really interesting but shocking data. Almost 94% of them feel insecure walking alone in the city. We realized this gets worse at night.
E a gente percebeu que essa dor é muito mais latente no período da noite.
So they came up with the idea to distribute purple bracelets for female students. They were not for their wrists, but for their backpacks. If you spotted a woman with one, it was a sign that you could walk together in the streets, just like a ride on foot.
E uma das coisas que eu e a Tá, a gente bate muito na tecla é que a gente está tratando de problema.
One of the things we insist on is that we're dealing with a rooted problem. We've talked to some girls, and a lot of them still struggle to understand that when a guy messes with you on the street, he's not complimenting you, he's harassing you. Our goal as a company is to not only connect these women, but also to help them understand the problem.
Essas meninas, mas também ajudar elas a entender que existe problema e tornar ele pouco mais consciente.
But despite all these initiatives, all interviewees agreed that the problem is deeper than it seems. Street harassment is a side effect of Brazil's widespread sexism.